All right, guys, welcome to a Tuesday afternoon Underdog Best Ball stream. I brought in my buddy from Rotogrinders, Erik Beimfohr. How are we doing, buddy?
Not too bad. Hopefully this will go a little better than some of the NBA games today, which for anybody that joins that's playing NBA DFS like a sicko like me right now, it's awful. So hopefully we can pick up my day a little bit. I need the boost. So you're the perfect guy.
There we go. Yeah, we're going to draft a team here, and Underdog just spun up this new contest. They had the $25 Best Ball Mania one, and now they have a $5 price point, which is nice for the low-level grinders who want to fire a bunch. Still has 100K up top. So that is what we have hopped into. It looks like I'm the first one in the lobby here. So if you guys want to go and join this draft, it will get underway once we have 11 friends ready to join us. Circling back to NBA, I have avoided that bet because it just seems like way too stressful, and the tweets seem to indicate I am correct.
It is crazy. I'm probably the wrong person to talk to because I love like these shit show like slates, like grinding the 12th man on the bench. Like I enjoy it, but I had a good like last night, the Gobert COVID night. When he shut the world down, I had a good night, and so like I won some tickets into some stuff. Then they were running those contests today, like a $2,000 mega qualifier to the basketball final today, and I'm trying to grind. You know, like everybody is resting everybody and figuring that out. So it has started poorly. My day's pretty much over already. So we can talk some football.
Yeah, seriously. I was going to say, I mean, the same thing. I was ready to start playing some MLB DFS for the first time. And then with all that in the lineups, and I'm like, see, give me the MMA and the PGA where there's not the late breaking news and I can do this. So yeah, unless you're a sicko like you who can sit around the computer, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm out on that.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So how many of these Underdog drafts have you been grinding?
I've grinded the 25 pretty hard for the last few weeks. I started to get my feet wet. Maybe a month ago, and I picked up a little bit. It hasn't gone well. I'm 0 RB like you most of the time, and I was drafting Darius Geis, not like a ton, but I have a bunch of dead teams, and I've been grinding it pretty hard. It's fun. Underdog. It's the best. I've tried DK, and this is still even better than that. So I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's nice having this new tournament up here. The WAP asks, is this $5? Yep, it's $5 here. I can show the prize structure up here. So, you know, the same 18-round format, all those same settings. 22,500 entrants, first place, 20,000. I think I might have accidentally said 100K to first. That's 100K total prize pool, 20,000 to second, 10,000. Pretty nice flat payout structure. I think I did the math on the rake. It was around 10%. The Best Ball Mania one was around 7%, which is a very good rake compared to what we're used to. As Erik, who's looked at the DraftKings rake, can attest, those numbers can get pretty gaudy.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, Jeremy and crew. I saw you. You getting the shout out from Jeremy and crew, but I mean, they make awesome products. I grinded draft super hard last year, so I was pumped for when they brought this out.
Yep. It looks like we are close to filling here. 2 more people. What slot have you found yourself rooting for as you wait for these to fill?
Definitely 1 through 3 or the very end of the first round, which I think is kind of how it's been for a little while. But so today, before we get started, I did one earlier today. To kind of do a little bit of extra prep. And picked ninth. Every single person in front of me picked a running back. So I got Michael Thomas out of the 9 spot.
Holy cow. Well, here we go. We did just get the 6 slot, which could put us into Michael Thomas territory. I was just my buddy Levitan, he goes, more I draft, the more I think 1-2 to 1-7 is the worst spot to draft. I can't believe Levitan out here slandering the Saquon Barkley draft spot. I firmly agree that I want one of those top 4 to 5 picks the way I like to build, because if I'm not getting one of those top running backs, I'm not drafting one for a long time generally.
No. And it's funny. Anytime I post anything, so we're like the opposite. Anytime I post anything on Twitter that's like, kind of trolling or whatever, I get the people like, not necessarily Levitan, but the touts are just mad at me. Like, you can post something 0 RB and everybody's like, oh, Peter, he's so funny. And I post something like, people that draft David Johnson are donkeys, and everybody is in there like just berating me about how, oh, didn't you see 2016 David Johnson? Like, I can't get away with anything that you can get away with.
I agree with you to a point, but people still, the concept of 0 RB makes people feel so uncomfortable that even I get my fair share amount of pushback, but people know that I'm generally not going to engage in good faith online. So then they're like, why even bother? So that I just say what I want and I don't get checked on it. So it's great.
Right. That's true.
So who are you looking at here? You mentioned Michael Thomas is going to be a candidate. Is there any of these running backs that you consider if they do slip? Dalvin Cook's kind of interesting.
So I've found myself definitely mostly with Michael Thomas. And around 6 he's been falling. Everybody's taking running backs, but it's been Dalvin, Kamara, and Michael Thomas is kind of who I'm looking at there. I think Kamara is basically a receiver to me anyway. And fills a running back spot. So there we go.
So it's Cook or Thomas. Who do you lean here?
I take Michael Thomas.
Let's do it. You don't have to talk me into it. I'm always down to scoop up Michael Thomas there. I think I am higher than the market on Dalvin Cook. I do like him in those top 3 to 4 running backs, but again, you'd never have to twist my arm into a 0 RB build.
I mean, so I'm also super biased with running backs like that. Like, I was all in Dalvin last year. Like, 2nd round Dalvin was just a steal, and now you're taking him in the top 6 or whatever, which is not bad. But like, Michael Thomas is just like lock and load 100 catches, and Dalvin doesn't, he's not a lock either. He could sit out, not even just like COVID related. He could just sit out for a contract. We don't know. So I just like the lock in Michael Thomas in the first.
Yeah, so when you've locked him in, are there any running backs that you will take to pair him with in the second? Or are you pretty much on cruise control to wide receiver city at that point?
Definitely wide receivers. Yeah. So that's where it gets interesting. So I actually had the choice earlier today, picking similar to where we're at. Devontae and Julio were both there for me in the 2nd round, and I took Julio, but around that, like what we're doing here, with like 6 through 9 in the 1st round. Pretty much always double wide receiver, sometimes Kelsey, or sometimes Tyreek and Kelsey to try to start the Chiefs stack, but it's pretty much always 2 wide receivers because everybody is taking these running backs,
Yeah, and I think we'll find ourselves. I assume both of us would be more than open to Kittle or Kelsey if they fell, but that's normally pretty rare at 2-7.
Yeah, definitely. Really like Kittle too because, which I'm sure we'll talk plenty about, but the Niners stack is so beautiful. Like, Jimmy G is going so late, and then I'm still taking Debo with where he's falling, but then you can get Ayuk and Hurd and these guys in just a super cheap stack. And if you can actually get Kittle in the 2nd with it, I mean, it's beautiful.
To me, one way I think about that with the Debo, and I do agree, I think the price correction has gone too far on him, especially if you start with a wide receiver heavy build. You're not having to rely on Debo early. It's the same thing I think of. If you want to go robust RB, you better not be taking Tariq Cohen or James White. You want to be taking Alexander Mattison and Tony Pollard, the guys that can actually crack your starting lineup. And I think about that with Debo. It's like you can earn those luxury picks if you are wide receiver heavy.
Exactly. And with those running backs, it works out so perfectly where rounds 8 through 12 are all those guys. Like, that's where they all are. Madison, Pollard, Latavius, Edmonds, all those guys are in those rounds. So it just works out perfect kind of running this way. And then, Debo's falling.
Oh, I forgot we have the grid format. Let me go back real quick. George Kittle is still there. You down for Kittle?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do Kittle.
I love getting one of those elite tight ends, and that allows us, I assume you've only been drafting one other tight end if you get Kelsey or Kittle.
Yeah, usually I'm almost always drafting Sternberger in like the 17th or 16th or something like that. That's when I'm able to get Kittle or Kelsey, I'm targeting like Sternberger super late.
Let me I'm going to adjust my screen share to go to the full board. It popped it out as a different. Let's see how that looks. That should look pretty nice, right?
Yeah,
there we go. Okay, cool. Now we got the board here. When I was doing my streams before, they would constantly remind me, you got to go grid view, Peter. You got to go grid view. So I was very excited that Underdog got that rolled out quickly. I believe it's the more aesthetically pleasing way to see these drafts.
Yeah, it looks super sharp.
Oh, geez. I just see Daily Rojos in here. Pat Carrain, my partner in ship chasing crime, the foremost Rojo apologist, is in here. That's the problem with these is I've drafted so many teams, but I'm always welcoming in sharp people, and then I'm just getting sniped right and left. I'm like, I'm torn because I can't imagine doing a draft that's not for content, Erik, and yet here I am just welcoming so many snakes into the grass.
Right. I guess it's your donation to the industry. I mean, it's only $5, so you're probably going to lose it anyway. Let's be honest.
All right, now I'm getting some complaint. I wish you could go grid view and see the player queue. Let me see. Is that a possibility? It seemed like it X'd it out. Let me try this. I'll experiment here, guys. We're going to work through this together on the fly. We are 3 picks away. So if I go grid view, then I don't know how I
can't see.
So that's I think that's kind of tough to do. That's why I was thinking I have to X out every time anyways. We can figure it out. Okay, let's take a look here. We have Thomas and Kittle. Quarterback still on the board. Wide receivers. Anything jumping out to you here?
So, definitely on A-Rob.
Yeah.
I'm a big A-Rob fan. So the only time I would consider like running back here, but he just went. Well, both of those guys just went. The Steelers guys. I'm super bullish on the Steelers, and I still don't really. Connor was going way later even than the 3rd for a while.
Yeah.
So I would consider him or Juju, but I do like A-Rob. Thielen makes sense too. Just the alpha guys here.
Yeah, this is kind of a dead spot. There's no one I'm just running to smash here, but I'm good with A-Rob at this point. I mean, when AJ Brown goes this early, I mean, I love AJ Brown, but yeah.
Same. I like AJ Brown, but so A-Rob, it's kind of the same thing. It sucks that he's going in the 3rd now, but like there's just not that many dudes who can catch 110 balls. And I'm not saying that's what you're projecting, but like their offense is so bad. Their offense is so bad, and hopefully Foles is better than Trubisky. So, and I mean that's what I love about this kind of start is like you start Michael Thomas, George Kittle, and A-Rob. And Michael Thomas and Michael Thomas and A-Rob could catch 140 balls, or 240 balls, and then Kittle, it could be the top scoring tight end. And now you just got to hit on 2 running backs basically later.
That's it.
Locked and loaded.
That's what's going to be on my tombstone. He only needed to hit on 2 running backs. All right. I think the best compromise is I was able to put this in a new tab so we can toggle back and forth between these two. Let me get this all situated perfectly. That should be about good. Okay. So so we start here. I mean, whenever we head into round 4, I mean, we're still just firmly in wide receiver territory based what's on the board. Is there any one of these guys, running backs, the Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, David Johnson, that make you pause?
No, I hate them all.
Yeah, here we go. That's why I brought you on, Erik.
They're terrible. So we should talk about DJ really quick because I got pushback on hating on DJ,
really?
And I can Leone actually he got salty with me. Leone, he must be in a bad mood going to ETR or something. He got bitter with me. But anyway,
hey, friend of the show, Leone. You guys can I will mediate your beefs.
I love Mike. Mike is so sharp. He's great. So he's on DJ, and I was kind of surprised. Him and I think typically agree a lot more on stuff, but he without Nuke, he makes a decent point that no Nuke, and they traded a lot to get DJ, that the offense kind of changes, and DJ is a good receiver, that there's kind of that first round upside in him. I'm still not. I don't agree. But I can see it. Like if you wanted to kind of like if we started how we did and you wanted to snag DJ because you didn't love a wide receiver and then just go right back to kind of 0 RB, understand it. So he'd be the one guy I think where I'm listening to other sharp people that are making a case that I can at least understand.
All right, let's huddle here. I think you and I are both on board with fading these guys. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm generally taking Mclaren here, but you want to try to talk me into to a Rams guy or someone else?
It would be Mclaren for me. I haven't taken Robert Woods, or the other thing that I have tried to do, which I don't think we can do, would be try to stack Seattle. But Mclaren is the guy that I'm taking here for the same reasons why I'm taking A-Rob and Michael Thomas.
Yep. In the thing, my stuff with Woods specifically, I mean, we've already built in a really nice volume floor with Michael Thomas and Allen Robinson, and you could continue that. I like taking kind of the higher upside crack with Terry McLaurin, just knowing his average depth of target, the room for a second year breakout. So I think his target floor could be similar to Robert Woods, and I think he just has a way more exciting profile for more.
Yeah, I think if you say draft Julio and Tyreek or Julio, something like that, those are your early. I think the Rams guys, mainly Woods, make a little more sense because, like you said, the volume floor a little slightly less upside. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get as much McLaurin as I can, and I'm even drafting Haskins late too. So
it's such a, I mean, that's the nice thing too of when you grab guys like right now, every single guy we've drafted, it's very affordable to stack them.
And I don't actually have like any data on that, whether that's something to strongly consider, but it is something that I strongly consider when I'm taking it. Like, I'm always, every pick, I'm always thinking about how I'm going to construct that specific team, right? Like, okay, if I get the Chiefs guys, I really want to go get Mahomes. That if I get if we were able to snag both the Seattle guys, obviously then I'm going to reach for Russ. But I am always trying to target these like cheaper stacks, especially with zero RB, because in those rounds where a lot of people are taking quarterbacks, I'm taking all the zero RB running backs. And so then I need to be able to draft Teddy or whoever, Jimmy G or those guys.
That is a good point too, of when you need those high value rounds to get running backs. You can't have it all, right? So if we're getting the elite tight end, we're trying to smash people in the flex with wide receiver here. We'll take a detour as we're almost on the clock here. Definitely some wide receivers I like here. Where do you lean?
So this is my biggest struggle. I always end up taking a wide receiver here.
Yeah.
But I don't totally love anybody. I found myself on Gallup in this range, kind of the similar concept, buying maybe a breakout. But I've also been oddly drafting Steph Diggs, who I didn't think I would be really that in the move to Buffalo, but trying to stack up Buffalo because I think it's a really, really high upside stack. So those would be the two guys.
Yep, I like that. The only the guy that I have just been missing out on, I think we're going to default to Diggs here, just based on ADP, and I agree. I want to start drafting some more Marquise Brown. I just haven't been getting him. Where are you at with him?
I have a lot of him, but mostly one round later than this. I'm kind of pushing my luck, I guess, if you will, trying to see how many times I can get him in the sixth. Again, the exact same thing like what we're doing here, that if I can build in those studs and then take, like Hollywood and McLaurin and these super high upside guys, and then I don't even have to draft another receiver again unless I want to add to a stack later.
Yeah, and I think I don't think anyone would argue that we have drafted the undisputed number one target on each of these teams so far.
Right.
I don't even think it's close. The number two isn't even close.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to it, it's all cheap stacks. Like Josh Allen is the most expensive quarterback to target, and he's the 8th round or something like that. So, which is totally fine.
Well, look at Willis. Oh, wait, Willis, you're playing with fire there because he has the Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews start. I thought he was going to grab Brown there to lock up that full Ravens stack.
Yeah.
This could get a little dicey for you, Willis.
That would have been, I don't think I've seen anybody even stack the Ravens, which is kind of interesting because Lamar's going so early. Everybody's out, and I get it. Everybody's, you got sniped.
He already went. My bad. Sorry, Willis. I knew you would have done it otherwise. Yeah,
Yep.
that is the thing. You were talking about the stack combinations, and as fun as it is to stack the Ravens and the Chiefs, and it's actually pretty doable at some of their price points, is that those are going to be pretty high owned stacks. Whereas, I mean, how many Haskins, Mclaren stacks? I mean, they're going to be there, but they're going to be probably less frequent and give you a little more unique texture across the tournament, I would think.
I think so. I mean, so not to cherry pick one example of a huge winning best ball, but I'm playing all these tournaments. I don't play like just a regular 12-team leagues. So I'm trying to like win, $1 million or $250,000. Last year, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Devontae Parker, like the Gesicki stacks were what was winning people $1 million. Like nobody thought that at the beginning of the year. So I'm thinking along the exact same lines as you are, kind of contrarian, ugly stacks. I'm willing to go that route.
So we're entering an interesting territory here. The wide receiver value has kind of started to fall off. We have some elite quarterbacks. We have some interesting running backs. I don't really envision us going tight end here. I think we're probably, would you agree, between quarterback and running back?
Yeah, I think so. What quarterbacks is Allen there?
Yes. So Allen is still there. He could potentially fall to us just considering Kyler and Russell and Watson are all there.
Right.
Akers does go. He's someone that's interesting. We are on the clock. Talk it through.
Oh man, this one's brutal. I lean to running back. Oh, but I hate this. Absolutely hate this range. I think I honestly take Mostert. It doesn't make a lot of sense like him with Kittle, but if you can just full out onslaught the 49ers, I think reaching on him, and I'm not really excited about him. I think it makes a little more sense to kind of include him and just full out 49ers offense stack.
Yeah. I don't have a ton of Mostert, but like in this build, in the context of the Kittle pick, we're getting him 6 picks after ADP. We're not reaching for him. And there's still a very good chance that he can return value as the lead back in that offense. So I don't mind that pick at all. Harbs was pushing us to go for Rojo. We'll see if Pat scoops him up. It's hard to get the full Chief stack. I mean, it's hard to get every single guy, but if you choose at the turn, you can get Kelsey and Hill, and then you can get Mahomes in the third, and then you can get Hardman later. You miss out on CEH, but it's not that hard to get the top 3 pass catchers with Mahomes.
I have had trouble. I've tried it a few times, and I have had trouble executing it because it has never been Hill or Kelsey that I have trouble with. Like if I pick 9th or 10th, I can usually get those 2 guys. Somebody always takes Mahomes, which it just pisses me off. Like I have Tyreek and Kelsey. Why the fuck are you taking Mahomes, in the beginning of the 3rd round? But anyway.
No, that is, and again, that's another lesson about the expensive stacks is, we know we can get these cheap stacks, whereas you're sweating bullets, and then you have probably a suboptimal team if people are really coming for you. The team I drafted with Leone the other week, we just kept getting sniped on all of our stacks, and then we're trying to talk ourselves into the team still being live.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's the worst feeling is to sit, for 45 minutes of a draft and know you just drafted a totally dead team. Like, yeah, you wasted the money, but I also just wasted an hour of my life.
Yeah. Okay, so we are up in 2 picks here. Both the guys in front of us. Okay, I play gets the Kyler Kirk stack. Do we want to go Josh Allen here to stack with Diggs?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the play. We'll put him in the queue. Make sure we're not missing anything else here. I don't think Carpentier is going to steal him. He goes with Edelman. I mean, I don't see any opportunity cost to taking Josh Allen here.
No, I don't think so either.
All right, so we lock up our first stack there. We got our running back. We got our elite tight end. We got a little 49ers love going as well. It seems like both of us like Debo at a discount. So I think we got a lot of options here. We'll probably have a tough decision between running back and wide receiver here in the 8th, I'd envision.
Yeah. This is where I don't even have a strong feel for this. I don't know what your thoughts are with Josh Allen. Like I feel confident Diggs is like the alpha, but John Brown is still there, or like Beasley is, I guess, if you want to toss on late, in like the last round. But John Brown is kind of an 8th or 9th round round guy if you really want to stack up the Bills, and
Yeah.
there's not a running back that we like.
Yeah, I don't mind it. We might miss out on him, like you said, if we're going running back heavy here. Let me see. Oh, someone mentioned Jimmy G and Allen week 11 bye. How much do you think about bye weeks with these?
I don't, but like we can just draft Haskins in the 16th or 17th or something too. I actually kind of think 3 stacks might be more optimal. And I don't do it every time, but like typically when I'm drafting Josh Allen, like I'm drafting a higher priced quarterback, I am not stacking 3 teams.
Yeah.
But like if it works out and we draft like Haskins or somebody like that late, I don't think it's a big issue.
So let's take a look at the landscape here. Don't envision us going QB or tight end. Let's look at quarterback or running back and wide receiver. Wow, Mecole Hardman's ADP is starting to get pricey, although he is, of course, always a super sexy pick. Debo, we probably want at maybe a little bit more of a discount. Guy's still showing in the ADP. This is kind of a gross range. What's jumping out to you?
It's definitely a gross range. I've been drafting running backs here, kind of typically reaching a little bit for one of these running backs. Tevin doesn't really work for this for this particular build. We don't need every fucking 49er, but this is where sadly this is why I was taking like Darius Geis. Oh God, Gibson.
This Gibson might be too soon for you based on how much Geis it sounds like you had.
Yeah, so that's what I'm not honestly sure what I want to do with Gibson yet, because I'm bullish on that role. Somebody stepping into a role there that's valuable. It's just I was taking Gibson in like the 16th, and now I don't want to take him in the 8th.
I know,
but like in general, it's like I like carry on here. I like the 49ers guys. Like Tevin doesn't really make sense, but carry on has been a guy that I've been taking here a lot.
What have you been doing with Hardman?
I don't have a Hardman share, not because I don't want to, but because I mean. He's great. I'm sure like he's going to have some good games, but the 4th option on an offense in the 8th round doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, he has definitely gotten more pricey as the season goes on, and I assume a lot of Chiefs stacks or Mahomes teams reaching to lock him up. Okay, we are on the clock here. I mean, carry on is a guy. I've been a big Zach Moss guy. I don't mind Breida. Who do you lean here?
Yeah, Carry On and Breida, I think, are the guys that I'm leaning on here in this range, and then coming back and hammering that next tier of more backup running backs. Yeah.
It always feels a little. Let's go Carry On here. It always feels a little bit of a bummer when you're having to like reach on a 0 RB target, because I view them all very similarly. Obviously, we all have our preferences and the skill sets or whatever, but in general, as just like a pure probability outcome, they're all pretty similar. And so it always feels gross taking the first one, but in these builds, you gotta start at some point.
Yeah. The 8th round has been where I feel like I'm typically reaching, maybe even 9th a bit too, because like this team that we just drafted is like most of my teams. Like if I don't get a top 3 pick, this is kind of how I'm approaching drafts in general. A lot of the times I'm not even taking most there, but anyway, you just have like I can't take 8 wide receivers to start the draft. It's just silly. So I mean you got to start taking some of these guys, and if they're around early, they're around early. Other people are taking guys early at wide receiver or running back. Running back, there's a million of them gone in the first couple rounds, so it all evens out, I think.
Yeah, wow, man. Some of these guys, like N'Keal Harry's been a guy in a lot of drafts I've been getting much later than that. This draft is obviously way more wide receiver heavy. Oh, that was Pat who took N'Keal Harry, of course. We like N'Keal Harry. But drafts like this, it's nice though, because everyone else is now finally getting their tight ends, their quarterbacks, their wide receivers. I mean, we're going to get basically the same choice that we had at running back. I mean, we can have Breida, we can have Zach Moss, we can have Gibson. I mean, we're going to have options here.
Yep. I've been taking, what do you think about Latavius? I might be biased because I was loading up on him last year, and then obviously he kind of luckboxed a Kamara injury and he was just a monster, but he had useful weeks even when Kamara was in too. So I've been really high on him.
Yeah. Sorry. Let's. I'll circle back on that. Well, Latavius too. Yeah. He is definitely a guy I haven't been drafting a ton of, but I see the value, and he's going to probably have some standalone value, although it won't be super valuable because it'll be kind of a low floor. All right. Do you want to get Breida if we were both on board with him?
Yep, I like Breida.
But yeah, I think Latavius is a guy, and there's all the concerns now about Kamara coming off knee injury, people worrying about his plant-based diet and all this stuff. And we've already seen it, right? Like when Kamara's out, he just smashes as a full bell cow. So to me, I view him similar to the kind of Alexander Mattison, Tony Pollard types, maybe just a teeny bit less sexy because he's such a known commodity.
Yeah. Which I think it's weird because Pollard, he's flashy, but he's going around the same spot. And Latavius, I'm not saying I don't think Pollard can do it. Like I think Pollard would smash if Zeke went out too. But like we know what Latavius is going to be. He's a first round running back if Kamara is out. Like that's a fact. So it is always kind of weird to me that you're getting him like in the 10th round. So I'm just soaking up all these guys. Like it's,
sure.
It's perfect.
That's what, people who listen to the stream have heard me and my zero RB rants and how this is the year for it. But it's not even biased on players. It's just like you want as many of these darts as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think this is the year. So like you or other people like might have joked about it in the past or really strongly believed in it. I actually kind of didn't. Like last year I was drafting a lot of running backs early, but this year, like I believe wholeheartedly with everything you've kind of said and outlined about zero RB.
In more so, it's fun to get into the tribalistic zero RB robust RB, but everyone needs to know you need to go a hyper fragile strategy in this tournament to get first place, regardless. If you want to go hyper fragile at running back and start with 3 of them and then go away from it, great. If you want to go zero RB and load up on them, great. But you need to be taking a hyper fragile strategy to have first place. Like you cannot draft 3 or 4 running backs and then come back to them in the middle rounds. No, you have already allocated your resources and you need to be maximizing the other positions. And I think that's the biggest mistake people have, is because in general, fragility makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. So I took a little different approach last year in that I was definitely, pretty running back heavy early, but I was more taking an approach of I had like the tightest player pool imaginable. Oh, we're on the clock now.
So we're on the clock here. I meant to Zach Moss went 1 before us. I don't have a ton of Latavius. Like I said, I like him. Pollard here. Anyone else that is in the conversation for you?
So it's just those 2, and I actually lean Latavius a little bit over Pollard, which might be a hot take.
No, I don't think I have no problem doing that, but I definitely want to hear your Murray over Pollard.
So it's just that we have not seen. I love Tony Pollard just like everybody else does. My assumption is that if Zeke goes down, he is the smash bell cow. But he's never been that really in his well, maybe in high school. I don't know. He wasn't that at Memphis. He has never done it in the NFL. I can't 100% guarantee that he's just going to get, the Zeke 25 touches a week if he's out. I know 100% that Latavius will. Both awesome offenses and everything, but I just feel a little bit more comfortable knowing Latavius is a first round running back if Kamara is out, and not, injuries are unpredictable, but Kamara's a pretty fragile dude. Zeke's always doing this shit, which I feel like means he doesn't get hurt ever.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I lean Pollard is that I think he's going to have some pass catching standalone value that could sneak his way into your lineup and has that kind of big play ability where I think he could find a starting spot in your lineup based on just taking a screen pass to the house or something.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Latavius is going to be way more volume dependent, but we have seen him smash when he does get that volume. I think it's just more of a contingent value pick, which again, in a large field tournament, we can open ourselves up to all the variants of a contingent pick because that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Let's see here.
So Ayuk just went. That sucks.
Yeah. So we're in an interesting range here. I mean, we definitely, there's some interesting tight ends on the board. I mean, let's just check quarterbacks here. I mean, we do have the Breeze to I mean, do we want to get the Saints because we have Latavius Thomas?
Interesting. It definitely works. I'm open to it. I'm not in love with, I'm never in love with Breeze, but I think it makes a lot of sense here. Like if Kamara goes down and you have Latavius, Breeze, Thomas, it's also super unique. I don't imagine a lot of people have that.
Yeah. And we could then decide, that just gives us all the flexibility. We can take Haskins or whoever super late if we want it, or we don't even necessarily have to do it with Allen and Breeze.
Yeah, I like it. And I don't have much Breeze, so this will be interesting, different build.
Yeah, let's do this. And also I didn't see anyone here at wide receiver or running back that I just absolutely had to have.
No. And we can, like, I don't really like Jared Cook and Manny Sanders all that much, but it kind of gives us that option then too, coming back to draft one of those guys if we want to.
That's true. I'm going to go ahead and put those guys in the queue just in case to keep on our radar here. Let's see. Here's a question for you. Where do you realistically see Antonio Gibson's value now? 10th round feels like a good spot.
God, I'm such a hater. That's such a good question. Like, so all those, I'm such like a natural, like contrarian and I guess asshole. Like everybody is hyping him up after the draft, right? Every, fantasy football Twitter guy, oh my God, Antonio Gibson, you have to draft him, whatever. And I like him too. He's a good player, but I was just pessimistic about it. Like that's what they said about how many times do we hear this shit, right? Like we heard it with Darwin last year was like, oh my God, you got to draft Darwin Thompson. He's so awesome. Like, yeah, he's a 5th round or 6th round pick. He can't be that good. Anyway, I'm such a, like, I just don't know how a rookie can come in and have this monster role. Like, I just feel like they're just going to let Adrian Peterson ride again. Like, I just feel like that. So I don't feel like Gibson's role has changed that much. And now you're taking him in the 10th where he doesn't have the ceiling of any of those other guys that we like, Latavius and Pollard, even Chase Edmonds. He has more of a standalone role, but I just don't see the path to a real ceiling outcome from him. I could be wrong. I could be way, way wrong because he's a good football player, but I don't really see it.
And I think the biggest point in all of this is how you have to be so price sensitive with these 0 running back targets. Whereas like at the beginning of the offseason last year, I was getting Darwin Thompson in the 14th and 15th. That's great. Take your dart throw. And then, at the FFPC drafts the day before, he's literally going in the 7th and 8th round. And all the upside, all of it has been completely priced out of it. So, and this is why it's fun to draft throughout the whole season. You get your Gibson shares late. And now when he rockets up, it's like, good, I already got my portfolio. But I guess to circle back to him, I don't mind taking Gibson in that 10th round range. There are those guys, like I'm still taking Zach Moss over him, the Tony Pollards, all those guys I prefer, even Boston Scott. But I think you can still make room for Gibson in your 0 RB portfolio at around a 10th to 11th round cost. All right, we are on the clock here. Jared Cook goes. Sanders is still there. We have running back targets. Preston Williams is here if we want to go for some Dolphins to pair with Breida. We got 15 seconds. What do you see?
I like Manny for sure.
Okay. Yeah, let's lock up that second stack here. We did miss out a while ago on the John Brown. You mentioned Beasley if we want to go with 2 triple stacks.
Beasley and Knox would be available as a late second tight end if we wanted to.
Oh, yeah, Knox is a good call here. You can get him very affordably. All right, let's take a look at the overall construction of our team. So we got 2 quarterbacks, 2 premium quarterbacks, I would say, 4 nice 0 running back targets. We got our 5 wide receivers, and then our tight end. So we have lots of different directions we can go here. I don't think we're backed into a corner positionally.
Yeah, and so this is why I like that flexibility of the kind of the cheap stack. So we went into it thinking we were going to build these cheap stacks, but not locking in with Tyreek or whatever and trying to force Chiefs. Like we just been adapting as we went, right? Like we didn't really set out to have the Saints stack, but it just kind of fell to us and worked out that way. And now we can kind of beef up running backs or toss on another bill later to kind of complete that stack. Like this is exactly how I like to draft. So
I love to the Sox needling me for saying the word optionality 100 times on these streams. And you could notice I danced around it there, but they could feel it. They knew I wanted to say it. Daily Rojo does take Laviska Shenault. I did create a Laviska Shenault highlight royal to roll whenever I draft him, but we're going to have to wait for another stream because Pat took that away from me.
The Jags are a fun cheat stack too.
They are. Okay. Another kind of gross stretch here. Let's see. We are on the clock, so we need to.
I think it's probably Madison.
I'm going to just cue him just in case we see anything here in 10 seconds. What are your thoughts on DeAndre Washington too? He's interesting to me.
He's really interesting. Do you have a strong? I probably should look into it more, but I don't have a strong lean.
I do, and I just pulled
you sicko. I love it.
I'm sorry, right, I did it at the last second. So I think DeAndre Washington is massively undervalued right now. I think he should be going in the 10th round range with Gibson, with Boston Scott. There was already the report out of the Chiefs that him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are most likely going to split work the first month of the season. I also think with his skill set that he has the ability to both be the goal line guy. He can catch passes. So I just see a ton of different outs, whether that's contingency value, whether that's in a timeshare. And then of course, just that Kansas City pie being so big and the depth chart just being really thinned out. I don't think they trust Darwin. I don't think they trust Darrell Williams. And as much as we all like and are excited about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's not going to get 30 touches a game. So I think DeAndre Washington has a ton of paths to being relevant this year.
I like it. I'm on board. I didn't have a super strong take because obviously I agree with a lot of the CEH stuff, and then they still have those veteran holdovers. So I didn't have a really strong stance. So I think that makes a ton of sense. And he 13th round with any sort of path, like that's all I'm really looking for is paths, like realistic paths to like massive ceilings. And I mean, being a guy who might be a relative featured back on the Chiefs, no matter how good you are, that's a pretty good path.
Yeah, and I guess it's just weird to me. I know he's not a sexy name, but that the market hasn't really corrected. And I think if we went into this offseason and, DeAndre Washington was the incumbent or whatever, I don't know, maybe even if he had, Damian had opted out earlier, it's just like the second back, we've seen all these other second backs. Like, okay, Miles Sanders is going in the first round. Then we have Boston Scott going in the 10th. Like we just see all of these guys. And I'm like, why is DeAndre Washington not here with Gibson and Scott and Pollard and Moss? Like he just seems like he's in the exact situation, but people haven't factored it in yet.
Maybe an even better situation. Like you said, he could be the guy. Like they're saying they're going to split work, but what does that even mean? Like split work, like Damian and Shady split work, or like we don't know. He could, it's possible he should be like a 6th round pick. We just don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, and I don't mind. I do think his ADP is going to start to inch up, so I don't mind getting a share here now in the what do we get him, like late 13th? Okay, so we are at 2551. What position are you looking at? Are we just looking at we're going to be on the clock here in one pick?
Oof.
Keyshawn Vaughn really slipping.
Oh my God, he is slipping.
Just going to get him in view for a second. We could check out just real quick other tight ends, Irv, wide receivers, Pittman, Campbell, Ross, Washington.
So I really do like Paris Campbell.
I do too.
If we're not worried about any sort of correlation and picking the best player available, it would be Campbell for me.
Let's do Campbell just because I do feel wide receivers starting to get really, really thin.
Yeah.
And with this build, how many wide receivers do you think you're kind of looking for generally?
It definitely varies. So we got, so a lot of the time I have like 6 wide receivers in either the first 6 rounds or 7 rounds or something. So sometimes I won't take it just kind of depends like how I need to complete stacks or whatever. So like probably 7 would be where I would land. But like I have teams where I took 8 running backs or 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends, or it's totally up in the air. I know a lot of people are real sticklers about how many they take of each, and I think that's silly.
I got to check in with David. David is the foremost Keyshawn Vaughn truther. He does go, David, a story. You know what to do. Pete, crossing my fingers. Pete, you know what to do. I messed it up, David. He comes into these streams and just begs me to draft Keyshawn Vaughn, and I couldn't do it. I tried to buy the dip. It's the intention that counts, David. So we do have 4 more picks. I think we're obviously going to grab another tight end. The quarterback is up for debate. Definitely want at least one more wide receiver. So where are you at on our running backs? I assume that's going to probably be one of the more attractive positions at this point in the draft, but we don't necessarily need it either.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely taking at least another running back, but this is another like dead zone for me. I end up like doing a lot of like completing of my shitty stacks during these rounds, whether it's a tight end or a wide receiver, and then end up doubling back to running back. I do still kind of like Justin Jackson, and he's been falling kind of for, I don't totally understand why he's fallen. I guess Josh Kelly, but I kind of like him. I used to like Damian Harris a little bit, but now Lamar Miller's there.
Yeah. Let's put him in the queue. This is pretty gross. I mean,
real gross.
Yeah, like names that are interesting.
If you really want to get crazy, we can add a third stack and take Steven Sims and then come back and get Haskins again.
Let's do it. I kind of like that. Should we do it?
Yeah, let's do it. I love Steven Sims.
Yeah, I don't have any of the Washington football team trifecta stacked. So let's do that. And I'm going to put some in the queue here because some of our decisions might start to get. I know we wanted to put Knox on our radar. Are there any other tight ends that you would want as our second tight end?
Sternberger is gone, so it's real nasty. These guys are bad.
Yeah, I mean the only other name.
Knox would be it.
Yeah, I don't mind Irv if he continues to fall.
Yeah.
Quarterback, we're going to grab Haskins. And then there's still a couple like deep flyer. I mean, as much as it's hard to actually with this build, no, like depending on some of the builds, like if you do hammer wide receiver for longer, I think getting a little bit of a floor with a guy like Nyheim Hines is fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think it makes sense with this build.
Right.
Ooh. Lynn Bowden down there deep is kind of interesting to me.
I've been taking in the last round Reggie Bonathan in teams like this. And just like when I know I don't need, he says 2 week 11 buys a tight end. I really don't care about that.
Why don't you explain that? Because I think for some people that's doesn't quite make sense, but I think I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, it makes a little more sense at quarterback, where you're sacrificing a lot of points, potentially 30 points by having the quarterbacks on the same buy. But at tight end scores are so low that, if I give up 10 points in a week to tight end, and honestly, it can be advantageous to have both of your guys every single other week and only give up, a small amount of points in that week. It doesn't really bother me. And I could probably be talked into it being an advantageous thing at tight end.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh no, that was just Irv who went. Oh, Haskins. Someone ruined our stack.
Who is that?
Who is this sicko here? Let's see what he's done.
He better have like.
No. What did he do? P. Joyner. No. What are you doing? He took Dwayne Haskins as his third unstacked QB. Who are you? You're sick. Oh my God. I assume our pick here is Dawson Knox, right?
Yes.
Well, now we have an unstacked Steven Sims and Terry McLaurin. What a sicko. I can't believe that. You go Roethlisberger, Carr, and then an unstacked Dwayne Haskins. P. Joner, if you're in the chat, what are you doing? All right.
This happens so much to me. Has it happened to you a lot on like these? You're saying that you and Leone were getting sniped a lot. It happens so much, so much to me.
Yeah. It definitely happens a decent amount. I think that it just stings because that one is just normally a gimme. Like, it's one thing if you're like, oh, someone took, Josh Allen from me. It's like, well, okay, well, he's going to get drafted. But Dwayne Haskins really only makes sense if you have a Redskin on your team.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and certainly not as your third and next to Derek Carr. Yeah.
Ugh, gross. Whatever. We'll survive.
Yeah.
Okay. So circling back to the Bonifant thing, I definitely, I agree with the premise of like, all these other backup running backs are getting drafted. Christian McCaffrey's going number 1 overall. Like, there is value behind here. I think it was, last year, looking at how they divvied up the carries when McCaffrey, like even in like blowout situations, it was a real hodgepodge. I've read some reports that Mike Davis is going to be involved in there. Yeah. But to your point, I don't mind taking, I mean, Reggie Bonifant still is the second-year guy. But I do think based on the snaps they've showed us behind him, it could be kind of messy.
Yeah, I think the most likely scenario is that it is messy. But I think in the last round, when I'm just like, all those guys are garbage. All those running backs are terrible down there. And frankly, most of the wide receivers are too. Like, there's nobody that really I'm excited about.
So
let's see.
As far as stacks, I mean, we could do the Foles to Allen Robinson thing.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of value in Foles. I think I would roll 2 QBs with this without Haskins there.
I think Hines this late is still kind of crazy. What else are we seeing? Are there any other stack stuff I'm missing? Are there any? I mean, did Jalen Hurd go with our? I guess we're not.
He's been flying up. The board. He's got the Levitan bump. Jalen Hurd got the Levitan bump up to like the 14th round.
This isn't a bad. Oh, Bryce Love already did go. Okay, I was gonna say that's not a bad flyer.
Yeah.
You said you like Justin Jackson. This is a fair price for him. Oh, we accidentally drafted Bonifant. Sorry.
Oh shit, I wasn't paying attention.
I wasn't paying attention either. It could be worse. Sometimes I forget to set the queue, and then you get someone you don't like at all.
That's a really good point by Erik Belair that said if you got Haskins, Bryce Love would have made a ton of sense and onslaught the Redskins, which is like nobody is going to do that. But then like, I do think their offense is going to be better. And if their offense is blowing up in the playoffs and Bryce Love is like the feature back and you have Sims, McLaurin, and Bryce Love with Haskins, you have every touch on their offense, for free, for super cheap.
No, it's true. It's Sean Siegel actually just wrote up a piece about Bryce Love today. I haven't gotten a chance to read it, but I've been stashing him in dynasty leagues because of Sean as well. So with as much uncertainty as there is in that backfield, and if you're, to your point, it's like you can either bet against a rookie coming in, and you can bet against how much does Adrian Peterson have left in the tank. And those are two good bets to make against. And if you do, that's going to point to Bryce Love at this point.
Yep.
Okay, so we have our final pick coming up here. We are at 2-6-7-2. I think we are good at quarterback and tight end. What are you leaning here? Justin Jackson, if he's still here?
I think probably Justin Jackson. We took Knox, right? Yeah.
We did get Knox, yeah.
This is where, like, if I'm taking Josh Allen, sometimes I think a lot of times Cole Beasley is around here, which like not super sexy. Okay, he's gone. Not super sexy, but like he had some spiked weeks. So it's probably Justin Jackson here, and I think he makes the most sense given our roster. Yeah,
we definitely I think probably in our perfect world we would have just like maybe one more piece of wide receiver firepower here. I don't know. There was no one we really wanted over Mostert. With this build, you could probably toss him back in and replace it.
That's where I end up like having a real hard time usually. Is there's one running back where I just take it because I don't know who the fuck else to take. I've taken 5 wide receivers and I don't know exactly what to do in a round, and I default to a running back that I don't even really love, and that's kind of what happened with Mostert. So like you said, maybe that's somewhere we should have thrown back, and I don't even know who's around, who's available around there.
And that is the mind fuck that you described. It's like, okay, Mostert is the one who's falling. So do we scoop the value at a position of need, or are we reaching on a Christian Kirk or whatever, a guy I like, But it's like we've loaded up. It just feels weird to pass on the position of need value and reach for the strength at that point in the draft.
That's where I always feel like I maybe I'm screwing up. I don't know if I'm screwing up, but that's where there becomes that point where I'm probably just drafting a running back to draft one, but I don't think it makes sense to draft another wide receiver or another tight end. So I just end up, like you said, taking Mostert, and then at the end of the draft, I'm like, God damn it, why didn't I just take Christian Kirk or whatever? Because what's the difference between Mostert and whoever, DeAndre Washington?
It's never a good sign when the people in the chat are fawning over other teams. There's some love for Team One. Harbs loves the Kamara team. Kamara, Hopkins, Juju, Woods, Kupp, Kyler, Kirk, Higbee, Coleman, Gibson, Lindsey, Darrell Henderson. That's a nice team.
Wow.
Nice build.
The Rams, I've tried to get that quite a few times, the kind of Rams onslaught that he has there. Goff, Woods, Kupp, Higbee. I'm super high on that build. Yep. That's a nice team.
And then the team out of the one hole has the Lions onslaught with Golladay, Swift, Stafford, and Hawkinson. And he has the
did he get Teddy?
He got Teddy, Ian Thomas, DJ Moore, and McCaffrey. So yeah, he got 2 quad onslaughts there.
What the heck? These people are good at this. Why did we? Who did you invite? Did you invite specific sharps into this draft? These are good teams.
That's what happens, man. That's what happens is these guys come in here and then we all lose together because we're just competing against each other and typing each other.
Except for the 12th pick. No offense, bud.
No offense. No, actually, you should take offense because you took away our Haskins stat. Okay, let me get your final rundown of this squad and how you feel about it, warts and all.
Yeah, I think it's imperfect. It didn't go completely perfectly, but in general, this is how I think you should kind of be building and how I think you should be going about your draft. Exactly what we did. Thomas at the 6th spot, I think is perfect. And then kind of building 0 RB and just taking whoever is there in those running back rounds, which typically starts for us, it started the 6th, but for me, it's typically starting more like 7th. And just taking, like you said, they're all the same to me for the most part. Everybody has their preferences. You might've sold me kind of on DeAndre Washington, but Latavius versus Pollard, like we talked about, they're all the same thing. So just, I'm trying to get 6 of those guys. With a bunch of alpha wide receivers, and then as I go building the stacks like we did, okay, Josh Allen makes a lot of sense here since we have Diggs, and then we can thinking about how you can tack on an ancillary piece later, because those late round picks are useless, so I try to use them to correlate. So that's kind of how I'm going about most drafts.
It also makes it just so much more intellectually interesting. If you're just drafting off of ADP and value and it's just the same stuff over and over, but the kind of added game within a game of chasing down your stacks is really fun.
It's my favorite part. It's also the most tilting part, you start the first X amount of rounds and you have this pipe dream of this perfect team that you could build, and it never, ever, ever works out. How I felt about this draft is, I was talking to Cal Spears the other day. He does a lot of best ball drafts, and we talk about it sometimes. And he said drafting on Underdog is like drafting against a bunch of Evan Silvas. Is what it is. is how he said it, because it's everybody is super sharp with ADP, and so I'm trying to kind of figure out how to manipulate that like we did. I'm just building stacks and adjusting optionality. Right, I'm keeping my optionality. And trying to take advantage of the fact that everybody's just drafting off of ADP.
And it's true too, in their ADP updates so frequently that it's obviously going to serve as a natural anchoring mechanism for people, and it just makes the drafts really efficient. And that's why I think I got so excited when I see DeAndre Washington. There's so few guys that I'm going to think are mispriced, because the market is just generally going to be pretty correct with this stuff. Whereas I think Washington's, probably 2 rounds off of what he should be. So it's okay, let's do it. Let's do it before it adjusts. It will adjust here soon.
It adjusts so fast. That's how it, in a different way, but that's how I felt about James Conner. I was trying to hammer when this first opened, James Conner going the sixth round. And so I was just, 0 RB, James Conner in the 6th, 0 RB, James Conner in the 6th, and just hammering as much of it as I could. And some of these other guys were falling later too, Pollards and Chase Edmonds and stuff. You were getting them in the 12th, 13th. So it was just the dream. And now it has adjusted a lot.
All right. Erik, you what are you working on over at Rotogrinders these days?
Yeah, a lot of stuff now that all sports are back, but I'm getting a little bit more into content stuff. I think me and DB got an Underdog show coming up actually here, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I can't keep my schedule straight, but yeah, grinding NBA and MLB and getting ready for NFL. Plenty of content though.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check out Erik. I linked to his Twitter profile on here. Definitely one of the sharper guys in the space. I did a video with him in the season building a DFS lineup, which coincidentally enough was Saints based as well with Traquan.
Yeah, fucking Traquan. Hopefully this team is a little better than what we did that week.
Yeah, no, it happens, but hey, it's first or last. That's It doesn't matter if it's in between. And yeah, thank you guys for coming out. We'll have live streams this week, ship chasing with my brother Daily Rojo tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And then on Thursday, we'll be back with a randomizer draft. So thank you to the chat. Thank you to Erik. We will see you guys next time.